the leader and everyone for participating. We've had a lively and I think really good and detailed discussion, and it's been a pleasure to be on the panel with my fellow candidates. As I said at the beginning, this has been a very dark day for Victoria, not just in transport policy but in good governance and in democracy. We are 4 weeks out from caretaker. And this government has sought to put a millstone around the people of Victoria's neck with a contract and a business case that has been clandestine and has been used almost as a gun to people's heads in the darkness of night and in the shadow of the Ritz. And it has been a completely and utterly unacceptable exercise. We know this project, people across Victoria do not want this project. They want money invested in public transport, they want money invested in local road issues that their community is facing. They don't want this tunnel that will be used by very few people going really nowhere. So there's a very clear choice in this election, a very, very clear choice. A Labor government will not build this tunnel. A Labor government will shine a light on what just has gone on over the last few months by this Napthine government. We called on them repeatedly and often. We've been campaigning across the suburbs and in the regions against this tunnel, and all he had to do was wait 4 weeks and there wouldn't even be talks of kill clauses. He could have taken it to the people and let them decide and get it. If he thinks it's such a fantastic project, then he should have got a mandate 4 weeks out. So this is a very clear choice, on November 29 for a Labor government that will not build this tunnel, that will make Melbourne Metro, the well-researched Melbourne Metro, which will double the capacity of the city loop, which will transform the way trains move right across this city, will make it our absolute priority. It will remove 50 level crossings, including crossings in our own electorate and nearby, to make sure that trains are moving faster, trains are moving unimpeded, that they can connect better with the new Melbourne Metro, and that we have safer, more importantly, safer crossings for our children. These are the key transport priorities: home safe, 24-hour public transport, rail lines to making sure that we have a properly independent infrastructure Victoria which can assess and prioritise projects and that the public can have much greater confidence and information than what we have seen with the dismal performance over East-West Link. Quite frankly, this Napthine government does not deserve a chance to build this road. We need to stop it, and we need to stop it here. And I urge you not just to be engaged in this issue in our own community, but across Victoria as best you can, because when we throw out the Conservatives in the majority of seats, we can change the course of this tunnel.
Thanks all for staying so late. So it's been a pleasure, by the way, to have the other candidates, and I'd like to point out that the Liberal didn't even show up last year at the Liberals debates, so I'm very pleased that Gladys has come along. So to summarise, successive governments have lost control of Melbourne's urban boundary. It's 70 kilometres from Caroline Springs to Beaconsfield, and as a result of all those double garages out there, Brunswick and Coburg are choked with traffic. So the Greens want to make it easier for people to get around on foot, bike, public transport. So what we're going to do is invest in rail projects such as Doncaster Rail and increase the frequency of the trains on the uphill line. We'll buy an additional 50 trams in addition to the 50 already ordered by the Liberals. Those trams and trains will be built locally in Dandenong, providing manufacturing jobs in the wake of the closure of the automobile industry. We want to increase the frequency of east-west bus services through Brunswick and suburbs to the north, starting with an inner-city orbital smart bus that goes along Brunswick Road. And we'll increase the number of bike paths in the city, separate cyclists from cars wherever possible, and despite my getting concerned about cyclist safety, I still love riding through Brunswick. I just think we all should wear bright clothes. And we'll do a lot to boost cycling in the countryside as well and improve the safety of cyclists through various legal protections. So, looking at all those points, I think you can trust the Greens now to hold the other parties to their promises. We want to fund all of these things with the money that would have been spent on the East-West Link, on that PPP, the private risk and public risk and private property. And in comparison to our decision to legislate to void the contract, Labor is relying on the outcome of the court case, is allowing a judge to determine their policy. We want to tempt people out of their cars with improvements to active public transport. We want to connect lower income earners to opportunities for work. We want to have less traffic here as a result. We want to improve people's health by encouraging walking. But all parties have had their chance on public transport and they've failed. We are the party that can't be bought, and we are the party that you can trust to plan for Victoria's long-term future.
I'd like to thank the Mayor, and I think every one of you stayed till this time. As I said earlier, I'm a big fan of public transport, and I'm quite proud of what the coalition government has made. Since coming to office, we have massively boosted public transport services to move more people more often. I know we are nowhere near perfect. I know we have a lot more to do. But what you have to remember is it's been 4 years, nearly under 4 years for what we have done, but it took 11 years for the Labour government to run it down. The coalition government is working tirelessly to make sure that we can give the people of Victoria, the people of Moreland, a public transport that you're proud of. A system which provides more frequent, more reliable, safer and more connected services across the whole of Victoria. We want more people to be able to travel at night on public transport, and our protective services officers allows people to do that. 4 years ago, we walked into a system that simply didn't function. We had departments operating in silos. No one knew who was running public transport in Victoria under the previous Labour government. We now have the authority, the Public Transport Victoria, to do it in a professional and customer-focused way. Whether it's our trams, whether it's our buses, whether it's our trains, we are doing the hard work to improve the services. There's a lot more to do in front of us, but I just ask you to consider what happened after 11 years of Labour government with the Greens swinging off the coattail, and what the coalition government has achieved since we've been in office. We've made a lot of ground, and we've got a lot more work to do. I know that. If we are given another term in government, you really see what we are capable of doing. And then we can have a public transport system that we all can be proud of. Then I can show to my friends in Hong Kong, and that's something, a public transport that